Welcome back, everybody, to the Below Average Joe's MMA Podcast, episode 75. Your host, as always, the boys, Noah B. and Dominic Salee. The end of another week. How are you doing, Dom?
Ooh!
that you let out quite a noise there.
Headphone listeners, I apologize. We're about to break down a 3-championship card.
Mm-hmm.
A record number of fight breakdowns on an episode with 9.
You all are witnessing
history.
A record-breaking performance here by us.
Episode 75. 3/4 of the way to triple digits. 75%. And I've been saying for weeks now that I'm not ready for the month of March. But here we are.
Yeah, you weren't ready. None of us were ready.
March ain't stopping.
It never stopped coming. And now here we are.
Yeah. It's like a Habib takedown, and it's just on top of us now.
Yep.
And we're stuck.
And we are getting taken in the deep waters.
Yeah.
And they only get deeper.
Yes.
But it starts here.
We're going to fight our asses off.
This is the biggest card that we might see all year.
This is one of the biggest episodes we've ever done. Right here. Biggest card we've ever done.
It is the biggest card we've ever done.
Yeah.
From top to bottom. That's why they're doing 9 fights.
Well, we're about to bring it. We're about to bring it.
Yeah. Very excited to go over UFC 259. Headlined by 3 title fights. I mean, they're all really headliners in their own right. Obviously, main billing, you got Blachowicz versus Adesanya for the light heavyweight belt. That's champion versus champion. Israel going for champ status. Co-main event, the GOAT. The women's GOAT. And maybe even just the GOAT in general.
Yeah.
Amanda Nunes defending her women's featherweight belt against really probably the first legitimate featherweight she's faced since her Cyborg. Megan Anderson.
Yeah.
And after that, you got that bantamweight belt.
This is the one a lot of people are excited about.
Petr Yan
the most.
Trying to make his first defense of that title against the rightful number 1 contender, Aljamain Sterling. However, before we get into those, it's time for the news.
The news. Couple things.
Couple fight announcements here. We start with May 1st.
May 1st.
May 1st. Cub Swanson, man.
Ooh, boy.
A guy that we are a big fan of here on the Below Average Joe's MMA Bonus.
Having a tad bit of a career resurgence?
He has. He's been really, the UFC's not made this easy for him.
Not at all.
You saw him go up against Kron Gracie, pass the test. Kron Gracie, weird fight where he was kind of trying to stand with Cub, but it was an awesome fight. Mm-hmm. Cub looked great. He follows that up with Daniel Pineda, a guy who had finished, what was it?
I think he literally has 27 wins, all via finish.
And Cub stopped him.
Yeah.
And looked fantastic in that fight.
He looked damn good.
For a while, it looked like he was going to be going up against
Gavin Tucker.
Gavin Tucker is now facing Dan Ige.
Yes.
So now, Cubs matchup for May 1st.
Oh.
Another killer in Giga Chikadze.
I'm talking about striking. Yikes.
When you sent this to me, you literally put, they're feeding Cub to sharks.
Yeah, they are. It's bad.
So, explain to the people, because Giga Chikadze, while we know how good this guy is, explain to the people kind of why they should be on the lookout for Chikadze.
World-class striking. What'd he go last year in 2020? No, let the
He went 4-0.
4 fights, 4 wins in 2020. Mm-hmm. One of the most under-the-radar fighters of the year, dare I say.
Yeah, he
found himself on the prelims on almost all of those
He
fights.
went under our radar.
Yeah.
I mean, 4-0, there wasn't a ton of people we know that about the second half of the year, how it seemed like everybody was fighting every week. But with a guy like him, his first fight of the year was in March, and then he fought in May, and then October, and then November. So that guy just...
like a normal year.
He just treated it like business as usual.
Yeah. And he's an animal on the feet.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very hard fight for Cub, but as we saw in his last fight, Cub still can throw some hands. But he's got a lot more than hands coming at him with Giga. He's got kicks, he's got knees, he's got elbows. This man is really an incredible striker. He's put on some great performances in the UFC. Is he 4-0 in the promotion then? Was his debut in 2020?
No,
for the
so
UFC?
he did have a win in 2019, so he is
5-0 in the UFC. This is no easy feat for either man.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say this is Chikadze's biggest test and biggest name, What are your thoughts here? We're big Cub fans.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to count them out at this point.
Yeah.
You know, I believe when we were split on the Swanson Pineda fight, I think you had
I think I
Cub.
picked. I don't remember. Someone go
Either
fact
way,
check that.
yeah. Either way, we kind of went back and forth on that fight because Cub is one of those aging guys. He's been fighting in the UFC for a long time.
Been there, done that.
Pineda, no young guy in his own right. A guy is like 35.
Yeah.
But a fresh face in that division, and a guy that finished everybody. It seemed like maybe this could be a tough one for Cub to pass. Cub looked fantastic.
Yeah, he did.
And I mean, even the Crone Gracie fight. That's the kind of style of fighter that Cub would have the most trouble
He's
with.
been submitted a lot. Yeah.
However, Crone just looked. I don't want to say it was all like Crone's lack of fight IQ or whatever. I think a lot of it is Cub Swanson. The way he fought that fight was he really dragged Crone into his world.
His fight. Yeah.
He was like they decided to have a slugfest, and with a Gracie.
Yeah.
They literally they put the name Gracie next to jiu-jitsu a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That it's in his genes, man. And the guy was like, "Let me box."
Yeah, with one of the most dangerous strikers in featherweight division.
So, but Giga here, he's a little bit more patient.
Yes, he is.
I mean, these kickboxing types are really dangerous.
A lot of them nowadays.
They're you see it with a lot of these kickboxing guys. They're very patient. They're very
see our
composed.
headliner here, Izzy.
Yeah, patience, being composed. Those are traits that are very...
They pick their opponents apart.
Yeah, they really do. And, the leg kicks are going to be big. And Cub Swanson still having some troubles with his legs. He had a surgically repaired knee. You saw in that fight with Pineda, those leg kicks were eating him up early. I think it's a great fight. And it's a great test for JKZ because if you really look at who he's fought, the best guy on his resume is Brandon Davis.
Oh, yeah, it's a big step up in name
And
value.
that was his debut.
Yeah.
Since then, he's fought guys like Jamal Emmers, Erwin Rivera, Omar Morales, Jamie Simmons. Not a lot of names that really we know of right now.
Right.
So I think it's a big test for JKZ, but for Cub, he seems like the guy that's got more to lose here because in some ways he might still be fighting for his job.
Sometimes when these veteran versus, up-and-comer fights happen, the vet just happens to come out on top.
Yeah, so don't be surprised to see that one win Fight of the Night.
Experience goes a long way. That could very well be a Fight of the Night. Yeah.
That is coming to you on May 1st, 2 weeks later. May 15th.
Another potential Fight of the Night.
Sure, yeah, you're not kidding. This is going to be UFC 262.
Oh, yeah, that's the pay-per-view.
Yeah, so this will probably be on your main card, I would say. A big matchup at featherweight.
Yeah, it is.
Shane Burgos. We last saw him in a low-key sleeper fight of the year with Josh Emmett last year. A fight that he did lose. And that was the fight where Josh Emmett tore his ACL.
Yeah, in the first round.
But he's got his next matchup, Burgos does, against Edson Barboza. Barboza just signing a new deal with the UFC to remain with the company. He's had a tough go of things, in the past couple years. He's 2-5. 2-5 since 2017, since the end of 2017, since the Khabib fight.
Yeah.
Ooh. Starting with that Khabib fight, he's went 2-5. He did win his last fight against Makwan Amir Khan. A good win.
Fight.
A good win, but Burgos top 15.
Yeah.
This is definitely a step up.
Yeah, 12 versus 14 here. Again, for Burgos, coming off that Emmett fight, still name value-wise, Edson's probably overall a bigger name than Emmett still. This is a huge test for him. And for Edson, he's really trying to make his mark in this division since he came down. He came and had that fight with Ige, which you could argue he won. Then he beat, how do you say his name again? Makwan
Amir Khan.
Amir Khani. And he looked good in that fight. His takedown defense was on point. So if he were to get this win over Burgos here, he all of a sudden is knocking on the door for top 10 competition. And a guy like Edson, a freak athlete, he's always going to pose threats no matter what the wins and losses are saying on his record.
Well, the thing that I don't think people realize about Burgos, he is a guy that kind of went under the radar a little bit up to this point. I mean, he's only 29. He's right in his prime right now.
That was his last one as well, was Makwan Amir Khan.
Yeah, he's only got 2 losses, and they're to Calvin Kattar and Josh Emmett. And, I mean, those are dogs.
Yeah.
He's only been finished by the one, Calvin Kattar. But if you look at some of his wins, I mean, he beat Cub Swanson.
Yep.
He finished Amir Khani. He's got wins over Charles Rosa via TKO. He's got good wins. Really, this is still a step up in some ways.
This might be that win he needs.
It's not necessarily it's a step up in his victories, but I think a fight with Barboza is very similar to fighting a guy like Josh.
Oh yeah, man.
If you're talking about overall talent,
name value, everything.
Yeah. So again, it's kind of like he's really being given another attempt here to really pass that test, and I'm looking forward to this. Barboza, I know he did just sign a new deal, but you got to think the guy, he's got a lot of years on him. A lot of fight years. He's not had a great run of things. Tough competition. If you look at that 2-5 run I talked about, lost to Habib, one of the...
We don't like to talk about that.
Lost to Kevin Lee. Great fight, though.
Yeah.
That was the fight where he made Kevin Lee do the stanky leg.
Oh, yeah.
Then he beat Dan Hooker in another brutal fight to watch.
That was brutal.
Then he had 3 straight losses to Justin Gaethje, Paul Felder via split decision, Dan Ige split decision.
Killer.
I thought he won.
I thought he won the Ige fight, yeah.
However, didn't win it decisively, and Ige being kind of that guy that was on the rise at the time. Then he wins against Amir Khani. So you got to think that he's still kind of fighting to keep that career going at this point. He's very committed.
A win would be big.
Very committed to staying at featherweight.
Yeah.
Which I think is good for him. He was not a big guy at lightweight, even though he is such an electrifying finisher. The striking is so fast. In this featherweight division, the guys are going to be faster, but he's going to be bigger, more powerful.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that meshes with Burgos, who's another big power guy in his own right.
100%. That's another literal fight of the night contender right there. Back-to-back fight announcements.
But that's all for the fight announcements. As for the rest...
We got a little sprinkle of something.
Actually,
we got to drop a big old bag of cash here.
Hold on.
Oh.
Let's all take a moment of silence.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I feel disrespectful now. I apologize.
That's okay. Moment of silence. All right. So the basically mid-2010s era of heavyweight is pretty much officially over.
Yeah.
With the UFC releasing Alistair Overeem and Junior Dos Santos.
On the same day.
I tip my hat to those guys.
Legends. Hall of Famers. And we had the pleasure to see Overeem in person.
We did. And, I really did buy into that last ride and everything. Shame that it had to end the way it did, but what a career that guy's had. Arguably, maybe not even arguably, maybe this is the obvious choice, but probably the best UFC fighter to never
win a belt.
Yeah.
And he's won them in every other place outside of the UFC.
The guy literally fought in Pride.
He's an absolute legend of just MMA as a whole. Heavyweight especially.
Meanwhile, for Junior Dos Santos, former UFC heavyweight champion, he headlined the very first Fox card with Cain Velasquez, and he knocked out Cain in about a minute.
Yeah. Man.
What's funny about that fight is that was the only fight shown on Fox. So they were hoping for an absolute awesome war type or a fight that would go a while because they had an hour of airtime. The fight ended in a minute. So then they pretty much had to scramble and have commentators talk awkwardly for about 45 minutes.
You love that.
So, funny how JDS kind of
what a guy.
got that Fox deal off to an awkward start. However, that's just a side point. JDS, man, he won the belt. He's got wins over guys like Stipe, obviously Cain Velasquez. He's been in wars with
one of the most
of
humble, respectful martial artists in the game.
Well, almost wanted a second. I shouldn't say almost, but he fought Stipe when Stipe was champion. Stipe's first 2 title defenses were Alistair Overeem and Junior Dos Santos.
Back to back, that's true.
So it's just so interesting. And then he followed it up with Francis Ngannou, who will not be retiring anytime soon.
No.
I
don't think so.
But yeah, it's...
Can I pose one quick question?
Yeah.
Were you surprised?
Okay, so JDS did not surprise me.
4 fights in a row, losses.
It felt like that one was very justified. And I think Overeem is too. However, it was a little more surprising. I thought maybe Overeem might get another I thought Overeem might retire.
Before they let him
go.
That just shows that they were just kind of in on the last ride too. You're either going to get to the belt or you're going to lose and we're done.
And I've seen some people making comments about how he went from headlining a fight night to being cut. Guys, I mean, this dude's 40. He's in his 40s. Like, he's been fighting for 20 plus years.
You want to talk about fight years?
Yeah, I mean, look at how many times that guy's been finished and how he's had to reinvent himself time and time again.
He has MMA wins in the 90s, the 1000s, the 10s, and the 20s. That's Alistair Overeem.
Pretty sure him and Olynyk are the only two that have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sad day, but...
End of an era.
You know, they're two future Hall of Famers
100%.
for sure. And
100%.
And
they always left us with great memories, win or loss. Always
amazing
went out,
fights across their
fights.
careers, you know.
So,
tons of fight of the nights and all that. So, and they made bags.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, Overeem, go eat all the horse meat you would like. JDS, I don't know what you eat, but go do that.
Yeah.
Moving on.
A bag.
I'm going to
of
let you talk about this one because you rudely...
Yeah, I apologize.
I'm just kidding.
I totally forgot.
No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
So, money. Lots and lots and lots of money. We got any bettors out there that listen to this? We're not a betting podcast, but UFC has officially named DraftKings as its sportsbook and daily fantasy partner. A deal, 5 years, $350 million. Now, if you're aware of UFC broadcasts in the past, you're no stranger to DraftKings having commercials during the broadcast, all that fun stuff. But now it's like an official gambling partner, which is new. And this is a huge deal, man, because sports betting is just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. It produces billions of dollars in revenue across the 20 states in Washington, D.C. that it's legalized in now. We're here in the great state of Ohio where we're hoping to have it legalized by the summertime. Yeah. We're still waiting on that one. Because Noah and I might throw a couple dollars on a parlay. You never know.
You never know.
We're trying to improve the quality of the podcast. But so this is a huge deal. I think it even starts this weekend. So the clock that you see in the octagon is going to be official, like DraftKings logo on it and all this stuff. So see more and more of DraftKings coming up in the future. Again, 5-year deal. What are your kind of thoughts on this, Noah? Just it shows, I think, where sports betting is these days, along with how prominent the UFC is.
I'm happy that it's apparent the UFC really is like an advocate for this. You know,
they were huge on sports betting before all other sports.
I mean, the fight odds have been shown and displayed for years. You know, for I don't even know how long.
And you think that plays a role because they're literally in Vegas? You know,
and part of it has to be the headquarters being in Vegas. Dana, huge betting guy. He's literally banned from many casinos because he wins too often.
Yeah.
You know, he's obviously big on the history, the lore of the fight game, and betting and fighting intertwine very well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm all for this partnership. You know, the UFC's been announcing a few of these. They partnered with TikTok, like I kind of made a joke about
on
our This or That episode. So it's anything the UFC can do to partner with these, you know, prominent organizations, and
it's all about getting your brand, man, expanding your brand.
And I think that this shows that the ESPN deal is working to legitimize the sport, because maybe you wouldn't see quite some of these partnerships if they didn't have that kind of in their back pocket, that kind of connection to ESPN. So I love it. I don't really have too much thoughts about the actual deal itself and what it entails, but yeah, I hope sports betting comes to Ohio this summer.
Well, our Wallace don't, but we want it.
Yeah, well, they do, because we're gonna
win, right?
We're gonna win,
of course,
because they build casinos on winners.
Yeah, confidence is key.
Next one, I'm gonna let you introduce this one too. Dana made in a big statement.
Hot off the presses. Yep. There was as you know, we record these previews on Thursday evenings. There was a press conference today for UFC 259, and they were talking about fans. And Dana said, UFC 260, March 27th, trying to have it in Texas with a full stadium. I said, huh? Sitting here in my reclining chair, didn't know what he was talking about. So he has proposed plans to Dallas. They turned it down, and now he has reached out to Houston, Texas. And for those of you that don't know, Texas just this week lifted all COVID-19 protocols and restrictions. So they're trying to fill stadiums. Dana said he's going to be the first one back to do it, and he's not wasting any time. So I personally am not big on this idea yet, because I don't think we're quite at a full capacity time frame just yet. But it's great to see numbers are declining. things are starting to open up more, and that's a great thing. I just don't want stuff to be pushed too soon for potential setbacks. That's all.
Politics aside, right?
Yeah, no politics. This is just
and I'm not.
straight up.
I know that's not what you're not saying anything.
Yeah.
I'm just making it clear.
Yeah.
I'm not like no matter what you believe here. If I look at it from strictly strategically for the UFC, I have to wonder. I question if this is really worth the risk right now. So if you're, someone who thinks that for Texas this is too soon, that they're kind of crazy to be doing this, allowing all this full stadiums and allowing no mask and all that, then there's a reason why it's too risky, because you pack a stadium for your show.
Yeah.
And potentially
have like a super spreader.
Yeah, super spread. But if you're on the other end and you're someone who thinks that this is finally the time to do this and stuff,
then you're all for this.
However, what I would still say to those people is what should still make you concerned about the UFC going for this is a potential backlash. The UFC has not, a lot of these major sports organizations are very left-leaning.
And they're easing back.
UFC tends to be a little bit more on the, I guess, middle ground conservative side. Dana, supporter of Trump and whatnot, friend of Trump. So either way you fall on the spectrum, I feel like you should still come into this a bit concerned. Just because I think there's a lot of risk for the UFC to do this, but I also understand there was a lot of risk for them to really
come back
be the first sport to come back, but we were all for that.
Right. So
and it worked out. So in a way, I'm going to be hesitant, but I have no doubt if there is a sports organization that can pull this off,
it would be
UFC.
them. Yeah, that's true. I mean, we saw
they showed that they were very ahead of the game when it came to their COVID protocols and whatnot.
They did.
I imagine
successful at Fight
they
Island.
will still have something in place, to some sort of screening, whether it be like temperature checks, whatever. I just have a hard time believing it's just going to be like when we went to 203.
Yeah, and you just
had your
walking around, you're at the fan fest, all this stuff.
But who knows? We'll see as more comes out. But yeah, it was definitely a surprise.
It was just a talking bit that I just had to at least bring up. It was just shocking. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm again not surprised that he said he's going to be first, and we'll see what happens.
Yep. One more news story. We did not talk about this before we started recording. Just curious what your thoughts are. Khamzat Chimaev.
Oh yeah.
The post on Instagram. It looks like
he's getting it bad.
The COVID, what would you call it? The after effects or the ongoing effects of COVID.
Poor guy.
He basically posted a picture on his Instagram story of him. It looked like he had coughed up blood in the sink. And it was in Russian, I believe.
Yeah.
But translated, it looked like a retirement message.
Yeah, he essentially had said like he was done. And
now Dana has said that is not the case.
Shortly thereafter.
That he is still on track to come back in the summer. But I'm curious what your thoughts are. Do you think
health and safety first.
Yeah.
He's 100%. A young guy, and you want to see him get healthy. He doesn't need to be rushed back into things. We know the talent he possesses and the star potential. And I think the UFC realizes this, and they brought him to the States. They're getting him doctor attention over at the UFC. And Dana said the guy's honestly just not resting. He said he's getting medicine and all this stuff from the doctors, but then he's just going and training full bore, and that just can't happen. He needs to recover, chill out, relax. We know you fought twice in 9 days, 3 times in 63. He's an absolute freaking animal. But health and safety first. Let's get him recovered. Let's get him rested up, healthy, and then if he comes back, I can't wait to see it.
Hopefully he just comes back how he left.
Yeah.
In the first place.
Yeah, but
I completely agree. Health and safety first. I just feel like you have to talk about it, right?
Right. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. So I mean, thoughts go out to
from the Joes to
Chimaev.
Chimaev. Man, hope all is well. Get better, and we can't wait to see him again in the octagon.
Hopefully, yeah. But that is the end of the news.
Now.
No. No. We're not quite to.
It's probably a good thing.
We're not quite to the 9-fight breakdown yet.
Our fans are like, oh!
Come on. They're like, just give it to us.
Well.
it's time for a viewer question.
Dun, dun, dun.
Hey, Dom and Noah. Big fan of the podcast, longtime listener since the first episode. My question is, if Israel Adesanya wins the light heavyweight title, does he vacate the middleweight?
Thank you, Jordan, for your question. Really appreciate you sending that one in. So,
Our guy,
yeah,
JPZ.
been a supporter from day one. One of our best friends.
And we
way
get to
back.
see him for the fights this weekend.
He's gonna be watching them with us.
Gonna be a
so
blast.
we've been talking about this a lot.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think we've really told him what we think about this.
Yeah, this is interesting.
So, what do you think about Adesanya? You know, I know we'll be talking about his
Right.
fight with Blachowicz, but if he were to win the light heavyweight belt, what does that mean for him as middleweight champion? Basically, you know, does he?
I think we see him again. I think he defends again. I think this guy's really just coming for history, records, legacy, defending belts, winning belts, 3-weight classes, 6-weight classes. He just wants to do it all, undefeated. I think he, if he wins against Jan, becomes a 2-weight champion simultaneous. It also depends on the division, because the issue at middleweight is that the two guys, 1 and 2, are Costa and Whitaker. Now they're fighting next month, so obviously it's not like Izzy's gonna, if he wins Saturday, just turn around and fight soon. So the division's gonna have to play out, because we also have Vettori and Till, which I think is more intriguing to Adesanya than Costa Whitaker. But long story short, yes, Jordan, I do believe Izzy comes back down to make a title defense, win or lose, at UFC 259. Noah?
It's a good question. I went back and forth on it. I've at times believed he will. At times I believed he wouldn't. I think right now, I'm going to say he does let go of the belt. Now, do I think he could go back for it at some point? Potentially. I think he's going to look to make light heavyweight his division. You know, he has made a lot of comments about really the only matchup that stuck out to him at middleweight is Darren Till.
Yeah.
So a rematch with Whitaker probably doesn't interest him that much. A matchup potentially with a guy like Jared Cannonier or Marvin Vettori again or Jack Hermanson, you know, any of these guys, it doesn't really...
Nothing's tickling his fancy.
Yeah, but at light heavyweight, you have a new batch of guys that he could fight off. If he wins this belt... I mean, you look at a guy like Glover Teixeira. You look at guys like the winner of Rakic Santos, the winner of Prochazka and Reyes.
And not to mention a little carrot dangling above him at heavyweight, Noah and John Jones.
Yeah, and when I originally thought he wouldn't come back, I thought he might go to heavyweight.
Straight after?
Yeah. However, I don't think that's going to be the case.
There's a lot going on at heavyweight.
I just don't think it doesn't appear that he's going to... I don't think he'll be big enough to...
Is he going to weigh in at like 206?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, is that... Well, that's what I mean, yeah. It's like, I don't know if he's really big enough for heavyweight. I don't even know if that's really on his mind right now. I think he's really just looking to try to... New batch of contenders, guys that he wants to test himself against. And if he loses, then maybe you always go back.
Mm-hmm.
But since I am saying that I think he'll relinquish, I think it's only right that I say... who should fight for a vacant belt at middleweight. Truthfully, I mean, it depends on when it gets announced, obviously. You know, if he wins Saturday and makes it clear he's like, hey, this is light heavyweight's my home now, those guys can fight for the belt, then you do Costa Whitaker.
Yeah.
That's
would make
the
sense.
obvious choice. However, if that's not the case, then I think you do the winner of Costa Whitaker.
Winner of Till and Vettori.
Yep, you do that sometime in the summer.
Yeah.
And that would be a great fight.
100%.
No matter who the matchups are there.
They booked them within a week of each other for a reason.
Yeah. So that's my thoughts on it. JP, really appreciate your question. Hopefully we did a pretty decent job answering it for you.
Yeah, and if you guys have questions, again, the voice messages can be about literally anything. So we were happy that Jordan actually did something different here.
Yeah.
Posed a question. Tyler, of course, gave us predictions. Whatever you guys want. We're building this community, and we're putting you on the podcast.
Yeah, we might as well plug. JP was able to ask this question by using the voice message option on our Anchor page. You can find that if you go to our bios on Twitter or Instagram. The link tree is on there.
It's one of the second
links.
Option on the link tree.
Second option, leave
you
a voice message.
And you hit record.
And you got 60 seconds.
Yep.
So we would love to use those more, but that was a viewer question from JP. Really appreciate it.
We'll see you this weekend, buddy.
Yes, sir. Now we're on to our 9-fight breakdown.
No. Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready.
Yeah,
I'm finally ready.
Oh, you are?
I'm ready.
I don't think you are.
I'm not.
I think you're you're trying to psych yourself up.
I am. Bold-faced lie.
So let's go over what we're going to break down here. So we're breaking down the entire prelim.
Yeah, we are.
We are only not talking about the early
prelims. And there's still bangers on there.
So we're talking about our 4 prelims and our 5 main card fights. So we start at flyweight.
Yes.
Rogerio Bontoran, Kai Kara France. Then another flyweight fight. Number 1 contender fight, potentially.
Yes.
Joseph Benavidez, Askar Askarov.
It's a great fight.
Bantamweight. Back-to-back bantamweight. So you got back-to-back flyweight, back-to-back bantamweight. Song Yadong, one of the biggest prospects the UFC has right now.
Watch for
Kyler Phillips.
Watch for that to be fight of the
Watch
night.
Watch out for Kyler Phillips, man. Matrix is his nickname.
That might be fight of the night tomorrow. Saturday.
Following that, the headliner of the prelims. Dominic Cruz, the best bantamweight of all time.
The prelims.
Going up against Casey Kenny.
Casey Kenny unranked.
But a rising.
A dog.
Rising.
A dog.
Then our main card opens at light heavyweight. Thiago Santos, my boy. What are you doing to my boy?
This is the opening fight.
They're matching him up with Alexander Rakic. Then at lightweight, Habib 2.0, Islam Makhachev. Going up against Drew Dober.
Your guy.
My boy. What are you doing to my boy?
We saw him live.
We did. Then at bantamweight, here's where we get to title fights. Bantamweight title, Peter Yan, Aljamain Sterling. Women's featherweight title, Amanda Nunes, Megan Anderson. And light heavyweight title, Jan Blachowicz, Israel Adesanya. There we go. Back at the beginning.
All right.
Rogerio Bontoran, Kai Kara France. Take it away.
So, we've got top-ranked dudes here. We've got the number 8 ranked flyweights. Yes, they're both ranked number 8. How? Your guess is as good as mine. But they're tied for number 8 in the rankings. Kai Kara France, 21 wins, 9 losses, 1 no contest, 9 KO TKOs, 3 submissions, 4-2 in the UFC. 10 of his 12 finishes have came in the first round. He's got notable wins over Mark De La Rosa via decision, Tyson Nam via decision, also beat Raulian Paiva, and that's a familiar opponent between both these guys. That was a split decision. He's got losses to Alexandre Pantoja. That was on the Ultimate Fighter Season 24 in the quarterfinals back in 2016 via decision. He's lost to Brandon Moreno via unanimous decision, and then also lost to the other Brandon Raw Dog Royval. That one was via submission. Rogerio is 16-2 with 1 no contest, 3 KO TKOs, 11 submissions. He's 2-1 in the UFC and also has a win on the Contender Series. 9 of his 14 finishes in the first round with wins over Magomed Bibulatov. Yes. He's 17-2, by the way. Notable win there. That was a split decision. And then again, Julian Paiva via TKO. His lone notable loss and in the UFC was to Ray Borg, and that was via unanimous decision. The prelims are starting off with a banger. We love some Kai Kara France.
No, I'm big on Kai Kara France. I really enjoyed watching him kind of grow into who he is at this point. You know, his record might not be the most appealing, 21-9, but he's worked his way really there. I mean, at one point in his career, he was 7-6.
Yeah, look at him now.
And now he's 21-9. So the guy that's really he really kind of got thrown into professional fighting at a young age and really had to kind of develop and grow and take those losses in stride, and it's really made him a better fighter for it today. And he's definitely got the advantage on the feet here. Bontoran, though, that guy's a submission
11
specialist.
submissions, man.
Yeah, 11 submissions and 15 wins. It's very clear kind of who has the advantage where. I'm curious where you think this fight might go and who will get the W here.
You know, this is interesting because the bout we saw with Kara France and Royval for the one round that we got to see it was just so insane. Did it end into the second round?
Yeah.
Okay. So just an incredible war there. I think Kai is very well rounded, but when you're going up against a submission specialist like this, you probably want to avoid the ground at all costs. And I think he's going to be able to get the job done, Noah. I think he's going to bounce back here from that loss to Royval, make a statement, but I do think it goes the distance. I think we see a very tactical bout here with Kai getting the better of him on the feet. Maybe Bondurant gets it to the ground a little, but I don't see the finish happening. I'm going Kai Kara-France via decision in this
What's
one.
funny is I think Bondurant has a better chance of finishing this fight.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think Kara-France has a better chance of winning this fight.
The fight. Yeah.
And that's why I'm also going to go Kai Kara-France via decision. I think the threat of the takedown will be enough to keep Kara-France from really landing power shots.
Right. And
he'll really be focused more on kind of punches and bunches and staying on the move. And really, he's going to have to fear that kind of takedown and that ability to get on the ground with Bondurant because of how effective he is there. Moving on. Another flyweight bout.
Number 2, number 3.
Joseph Benavidez, Askar Askarov. Go ahead.
Joseph freaking Benavidez is 28-7, 8 KO TKOs, 9 submissions. He's 15-5 in the UFC, a staple of the flyweight division since its beginnings. He's got 7 first-round finishes. He's got wins over Eddie Wineland via decision, Ian McCall via decision. He's beaten Jussier Formiga twice, both via TKO. He's submitted Tim Elliott. He's beaten Dustin Ortiz twice, both via unanimous decision. He's beaten John Moraga via decision. Got a split decision over Henry Cejudo, and then a split over Alex Perez, former title challenger there. His losses, Dominic Cruz, twice.
Yeah.
NWEC, Demetrius Johnson, twice. Once via split decision, once via KO, both for belts. Lost to Sergio Pettis via split decision, then got finished by Davis and Figueiredo, once via TKO, once via submission, also both in title fights. 4 out of his 5 losses in the UFC have been in title fights.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. This guy seems to win every fight that's not a title fight, essentially.
Yeah.
On the other end, Askar Askarov, 12-0 with 1 draw, 3 KO TKO, 7 submissions, 2-0 in the UFC with the draw. He's got notable wins over Tim Elliott via decision and Alexandre Pantoja via decision. The draw on his record was to Brandon Moreno. Interesting fight here.
We do.
This is tough.
It's tough because we haven't seen Benavidez since he really got put through the ringer with back-to-back fights with Figueiredo.
Again, that's been mentioned on this podcast more than anything else.
And those 2 fights really did. I mean, people think that Benavidez should retire.
Those were tough. Yeah.
However, if you really look at him, I mean, he's 36, and you look at before that, he was on a 3-fight win streak before that where he looked damn good. Dustin Ortiz fight looked great. Jussier Formiga TKO'd him with head kick.
Yep.
Those Figgy losses, though, really do seem to have a hold on people. And I don't know if it's quite deserved, but I understand it because they were pretty brutal. While for Askar Askarov, I mean, the guy's pretty much been perfect. I mean, the Moreno draw looks better and better now that you see how Moreno fought to a draw.
In a fight you want to see even more these days now. You want that rematch, you know?
So it's very interesting here as Askar Askarov is quite the grappler.
Yes.
Benavidez really good everywhere.
When you think well-rounded, you got to think Joseph Benavidez.
The only thing about his striking that I don't like is that he tends to kind of lunge in with his eyes closed. Mm-hmm. That's what caused the headbutt in the first Figgy fight, and that's not really, that's not the most technically sound thing. But he is just a jack of all trades. He's good everywhere. But Askar definitely is the power grappler here. He is the grappler. He's the one that you're not going to want. Out of the 2, I would say Askar has the biggest skill set in his wheelhouse compared to Benavidez. Mm-hmm. Benavidez good everywhere. Askar's great on the ground.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
I can't go against the vet in this. I can't.
Really?
I think there's so much experience there in all these world title fights and all these just top-of-the-line guys. Askar just hasn't been in there with quite as many. And the one that he has been, it was a draw and he couldn't get it done. I'm going Joey B. I think he's holding on for one more, man. And he even said in his last post-fight presser, I'll probably never fight for a belt again, but I'm not going out like that.
Yep.
I think he's coming out with a chip on his shoulder. I think he's ready to prove a statement. He's not going to get a finish, though. But I think he's going to look damn good in this fight. Give Askar his first loss via decision.
I'm also going Joey V. I was shocked that you're going Benavidez here. This is no slight on Askarov. I just think that this is the most motivated, hungry Benavidez we have seen yet. Yeah. A guy, and I really think that if he wins this, I think he's retiring. I think he's done.
Yeah.
But I think that this is going to be a performance that's going to make everybody
win or loss
right off in the sunset.
But yeah,
I'm going Benavidez. I think he finishes the fight.
I think he's going to look really good.
I think third round TKO KO for Benavidez.
Okay, I like that. I really think he's going to come out and look great. I do.
I have just a really strong feeling about it.
Yeah. Could this bite us in the ass?
Of course.
Maybe. I mean, Askar is undefeated, but I really feel it. I do.
Yeah. We move on.
Oh, baby.
This is going to be a tough one, I think. Bantamweight prospects, Song Yadong, top 15 ranked.
Woo.
Kyler Phillips, less known, but just as dangerous, 8-1. Kind of taking your thing there. Go ahead.
Song Yadong, 16-4-1 with 1 no contest. He's got 6 KO TKOs, 3 submissions, 6-0 in the UFC with a draw. 6 first-round finishes. He's got wins over Alejandro Perez via KO and Marlon Chito Vera on a short notice fight. That was via decision. His draw in the UFC was to Cody Stamann. So here's the fun thing, though. Song Yadong, if you take away that draw, he's on a 9-fight unbeaten streak right now. With a guy that... So this guy was at one point 7-4. Now he's 16-4 on an absolute tear. Kyler Phillips, 8-1, as Noah alluded to. 5 KO TKOs, 1 submission. He's 2-0 in the UFC and a win on the Contender Series. 5 first-round finishes. He's coming into this fight on a 3-fight win streak. This is a banger. This, overall, I know we give our main card Fight of the Nights. This might be the literal, legit Fight of the Night awarded on Saturday night. This is going to be a banger, and I'm just coming out with it right now, Noah. Song Yadong. He's going to get it done. He's going to stop the win streak of Kyler Phillips. Song Yadong trying to keep that ranking alive, fight his way upward in the bantamweight division. But it's going to be another decision. It's going to be a 3-round war, back and forth. I'm even going to go as far to say Song Yadong in a 29-28 decision.
This is one of the toughest fights for me to pick a winner for.
Isn't this card just miserable?
Because Song Yadong has proven it more, even though in a way he's still unproven. He still is yet to reach his full potential.
That's such a good way to put it.
He's proven more. He's got the wins over Marlon Vera. That really wasn't a win, but we won't talk about that. He's beaten guys like Alejandro Perez and Vince Morales and went to a draw with Cody Stamann, a very good opponent there. But he's still so unproven, even though he is a top 15. And then you got Kyler Phillips, who's even less proven.
He's coming for it.
Kyler Phillips is literally 8-1. The guy literally is untapped potential, but you saw in his performance over Cameron Elsay how good this guy can be.
And he's got some nice hair.
He does
really lets it flow.
Yeah, and his nickname's Matrix for a reason. And that's what he was showing off in that fight.
Oh, you're struggling here, huh?
Yeah, I think...
Is it safe to say it's going to be a banger?
I think so. I really do. I'm a big believer in Yadong.
Big test.
I think I'm going to go with Song Yadong. So far, we're agreeing. I was very close to going Phillips. I think I'm going to go Song Yadong. I think I'm also going to go via decision, though.
Just back and forth,
I think
man.
He's just got more weapons, I believe.
He's going to look a little bit more
technical. If the fight stays on the feet, I actually think Phillips might...
Oh, really?
Might give him a hard time. Yadong, don't get me wrong, his striking's good.
Yeah.
But Phillips has just he's a very big finesse striker. And Yadong is a bit more plodding for a bantamweight. So I think he could give him trouble on the feet. I think Yadong's ability to win this fight could be taking it to the ground.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
I'm just saying.
I love it.
But I think it's going to be a great fight.
Oh, yeah.
And I have a feeling that this fight's going to go nothing like how I just predicted. But This is gonna be just like the Ankalaev fight.
Yeah.
Now we're at the prelim headliner.
Dominic Cruz is on the prelims. What in the fuck?
And he's going up against Casey
He's
Kenny.
fought for a title.
He's going up against Casey Kenny.
Casey Kenny.
What
this
the
was
fuck?
the fucking. We said this on a news segment months ago. It seems like at this point, and we were like, huh? This was the most random fight announcement we've ever covered on this podcast, but we're here for it. Dominic Cruz, arguably the greatest bantamweight of all time, 22 wins, 3 losses, 7 KO TKOs, 1 submission. He's 5-2 in the UFC. He's got 5 first-round finishes. Wins over Ian McCall back at WEC 38. He's been there for years. Decision. As mentioned with Joseph's fight, he's beaten Benavidez twice. WEC 42 and 50, both via decision. He's beaten Uriah Faber twice. They had a great trilogy. Both of those were via decision. He beat Demetrius Johnson back in the day when Demetrius was fighting at bantamweight. He beat Taikeya Mizugaki to win the belt. That was via KO. And then he also beat TJ Dillashaw via split decision. His only losses in his career: Uriah Faber via submission, Cody Garbrandt via decision, and then Henry Cejudo via TKO. Noah, Dominic Cruz was unbeaten from March 22nd, 2008. I was getting ready to turn 10.
Yes.
Until December 30th of 2016. That's a 13-fight win streak.
So about almost 7 years.
Take away major knee injuries that really hindered his career.
Yeah, that's so
time.
true too.
On the other end, I still can't believe these guys are fighting each other. Casey Kenny, 16 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. 2 KO TKOs, 5 submissions. He's 5-1 in the UFC. 5 first-round finishes. He's got wins over Ray Borg. That was his UFC debut via decision. He submitted Luis Smolka, and his most recent fight, it was a fight of the night with Nathaniel Wood. Incredible battle. He won that via decision. His lone loss in the UFC, Merab Davalishvili.
Who's a
dog. Yes, he jumps into ice.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, that was via decision. Casey's coming into this fight on a 3-fight win streak. But Noah, is he ready for Dominic Cruz? That's the question.
I don't think he is. Casey Kenny's good. He might be really good.
Casey Kenny is good, man.
He might be top 10 talent. He might top 5 or I don't think he's quite there. But I'm saying Casey Kenny has the potential to
I
be.
just wish they could see it.
Casey Kenny is definitely a top 15 level talent. You could even push top 10. I think he has the potential to even be a title challenger at some point.
Yeah.
Dominic Cruz is not the 11th best bantamweight in the world.
I can't believe he's ranked 11th.
He is top 5.
Yeah, he's Dominic Cruz.
Dominic Cruz is literally, I mean, that loss to Uriah was when he was 9-0, so he first lost.
Yeah.
He was so young at the time.
He's been doing this
Just
for
got caught in a
years.
submission. Went up against Cody Garbrandt, and he one of the best performances you'll ever see in a
any
title
fight. Yeah.
And then the Henry Cejudo fight, arguably an early stoppage, but Henry Cejudo is one of the most he's the most accomplished combat sports athlete of all time.
Yep.
The guy doesn't lose to just anybody.
No.
And as of now, Casey Kenny is not enough into his own yet to, I think, threaten Dominic Cruz. I think that Casey Kenny might show some things. Maybe he lands a takedown. Maybe he does hurt Cruz on the feet. I don't want to sit here and say that Kenny can't win this fight or that he can't make it a competitive fight. But I really think I'm going to go out on a limb and say Cruz by decision 30-27.
Dominic Cruz is such a puzzle. On the feet, there's really never been anyone like him. And the closest we've seen is Corey Sandhagen.
The best guy that Kenny has fought is Valishvili.
Yeah.
Who he lost, and he lost to him. But now you're going from him to Dominic Cruz, the best bantamweight of all time. That's just a huge leap. Mm-hmm. I don't care if Cruz today isn't the best bantamweight of all time.
It's still Dominic
still a
Cruz.
puzzle.
He's one of the best fighters.
One of the best in the world.
And for Casey, I guess, is his path to victory here trying to hold Dom on the ground? Is he going to be able to get the takedowns? Is that his method to victory? Is he going to try and outstrike him on the feet? There's just more questions to me as to how can Kenny win the fight as opposed to with what I'm going with. I think Dom is still one of the best in the world in this weight class specifically. And he's such a puzzle on the feet. He's so elusive, so quick, so unorthodox. He literally fights in a squared stance. We had a long talk about it on one of our episodes recently. And I'm going with Cruz via decision, man. I think it's too big of a step as of now.
That's yeah.
Could a future Casey Kenny beat Dominic Cruz? Yeah.
You're going
now,
you're going from Nathaniel Wood to the best bantamweight of all time. That's too much to ask of him. And if he passes that test, sky's the limit for you.
If Casey Kenny wins this, massive potential and a huge fight coming.
And I would even go as far as say that's a huge underdog.
Yeah, I don't know betting odds, but just to me, and thinking wise, he's a big underdog.
You know what I mean? That's what I think.
Yeah.
Out of all the fights we're picking, besides probably Megan Anderson, he's in my eyes the biggest underdog that we're previewing here.
I agree.
That's our prelims, though.
That's the prelims. So
go
get another beer because now we're back for the main card, and it's starting with two guys that just had.
And I gotta plug it. Dominic, you previewed this fight with Overtime Heroics.
Damn, I had fun with this.
Dominic, a member of the MMA Elite. He is a writer for Overtime Heroics. Go support them. If you follow us on Twitter, you've probably seen it shared. If you go to either of our pages, you can read it there. Great article. So we previewed this fight already. Now we're going to do it together.
Yes.
And that's Thiago Santos, my boy.
Yeah.
And Alexander Rakic.
Scary boy.
Scary boy.
So Thiago, 21-8, a veteran of the podcast. 15 KO TKOs, 1 submission. He's 13-7 in the UFC. 3-2 at light heavyweight, 10-5 at middleweight. He's got 8 first-round finishes. He's got wins over Elias Theodorou via decision. He KO'd Nate Marquardt, TKO'd Gerald Mearchart, TKO'd Jack Hermanson, TKO'd Anthony Smith. He got a decision win over Kevin Holland, and a win that looks better and better, and a fight for Kevin that just looks great in general for him. He TKO'd Eric Anders. This is where the light heavyweight era of Thiago begins. He KO'd Jimmy Manoa. He TKO'd Jan Blachowicz. That is the last man to beat Jan Blachowicz, but we're going to get more into that when we get to the main event. And from there, he earned a title shot. But we got to go into some of the middleweight losses first. He lost to Uriah Hall via decision. Got KO'd by Gegard Mousasi. KO'd by David Branch. The title fight he earned at light heavyweight was to John Jones, where he lost a split decision. And had he had 2 legs in that fight, Noah, he may have just dethroned the king. That is John Jones. And we thought he won the fight anyway.
I thought he won the fight anyway.
And then in his most recent outing, after a 15-month hiatus from a torn ACL, MCL, PCL, all the L's that you can have in your knee, came back, headlined a fight night with Glover Teixeira. Came up short, but had some moments in the process. Hurt Glover twice. But overall, Teixeira just overwhelmed him on the ground and got the submission. Alexander Rakic, this dude's terrifying.
Yeah, he really is.
13-2, 9 KO TKOs, 1 submission. He's 5-1 in the UFC, arguably 6-0, but we'll talk about that in a second. 8 of his 10 finishes in the first round. He's got wins over Marcin Prachnio. That was at FFC 16 back in 2014 via TKO. He TKO'd Devin Clark, KO'd Jimmy Manoa into retirement. He kicked the shit out of Jimmy Manoa.
He did.
And that sounded mean. Love Jimmy Manoa, but it's true.
It did.
He did retire after that fight. It was one of the most brutal head kick knockouts you'll ever see in your life. He got a decision win over Anthony Smith in a fight he absolutely dominated. That was his last outing. And the lone loss in the UFC, Volkan Oezdemir in a split decision that many felt Rakic won. No, I'm going to let you go first because Thiago Santos is one of your favorite fighters in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I really, when I first took notice of Thiago Santos was that headlining win over Jan Blachowicz.
Yeah.
He looked incredible in that fight. The finishing ability, just the pressure he brought to Blachowicz, who tried to stay patient, and it just, and it was like you know, like when you watch those videos in National Geographic and like you see the predator kind of stalking its, but it was like a chase kind of.
He pounces.
Yeah, I mean that's immediately he's as soon as the bell goes, he's bringing that pressure. He's throwing hammers. He's got one tattooed on his chest.
Yeah. Hey, Maretta, his nickname, Stands for
Yeah.
translates to sledgehammer.
And he's got one tattooed on his chest.
Yeah.
That's because he's got them in his hands.
Yeah, he swings hammers.
Yeah. And he does carry that power very well.
Yeah.
And he can carry it into the later rounds.
Yeah.
For Rakic, more patient.
Oh,
Again,
man.
we talked about it with the kickboxers. He is a very patient fighter, but you saw in that Anthony Smith fight,
All his kicks.
his leg kicks. I mean, he's got brute-sized
Yeah,
legs,
dude.
tree trunks. And Anthony Smith was just...
The leg kicks were
Anthony Smith wanted to quit.
Anthony Smith,
whose nickname is Lionheart,
Yeah.
said after the fight, he's like, I didn't want to be in there.
Yeah.
He was considering going back to middleweight.
Yeah, it was bad.
He was like, these guys are too big.
He
had Anthony Smith questioning his entire career.
Yeah.
That's how good Rakic can be.
Is good.
Sometimes a bit too patient.
Uh-oh.
He waits a bit too much
You're on to something.
for the big shot. That's why he lost to Volkan Oezdemir. That wasn't a great fight. Should have been. But he was just... He was a bit like what you saw out of Rosenstruik or Tyron Woodley. Not in the same way. You know, he's got a little bit more weapons. But he was just too patient. And here you got 3 rounds. And he is, again, a very patient, composed fighter. But he's going to have a wrecking ball in Thiago Santos coming after him.
Yeah.
So it's going to force him to kind of fight uncomfortably.
How's he going to react?
Fight out of his sort of wheelhouse, you know. But I think he's up for the test.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm a huge Thiago fan. I want to see him bounce back. However, I think Rakic's leg kicks. Thiago does have a surgically repaired knee.
Shit, both knees.
Yeah. And I think because of that, I think the leg kicks are going to be flying. They may not come right away. You know, if Thiago's really coming forward in that first round, I think Rakic may be playing defense a lot.
And it won't take many.
But I think that once Santos tries to slow down, you know, maybe take a breather.
He's a big guy. He's going to slow down.
I think Rakic is going to really unload on his leg kicks. I'm going to second round.
Ooh,
TKO, KO.
a finish.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Do you foresee Rakic maybe getting this fight to the ground at all, considering Thiago's last outing with Glover and how Rakic looked against Smith on the ground?
He could. I mean, when I say TKO, KO, I think the leg kicks are going to cause Thiago to have to kind of...
Yeah.
The way I picture it is a leg kick kind of forces Thiago to have to go to the ground, and then Rakic is just going to welcome it and pound and do some ground and pound and end it.
Yeah, man. It's interesting because, like, I don't think Rakic has fought anybody with the aggressiveness and the power of Thiago, but for Thiago, has he really fought a guy that's such a patient kickboxer like Rakic?
No, he has not.
So, interesting test for both guys, but we're sticking with each other right now through this because I also have Rakic winning this. I don't have a finish, though. I think he's going to kind of piece Thiago apart. I think he may utilize some wrestling. That's where my biggest question mark is. I'm interested to see if he takes this to the ground based on both of their last performances. But I'm going Rakic via decision here. I think Thiago might come out and win the first round, but I think it'll be the adjustments, and as Noah has alluded to, the leg kicks and just the patience of Rakic to start picking those shots that are going to really give him rounds 2 and 3 for sure. So, hey, that could be a fantastic fight, but you can't ask for a better way to start a pay-per-view. I know that.
I agree. You know, you don't usually see these big guys opening the card.
It's crazy,
it's a great fight on paper, and I really hope that it lives up to that. I mean, Thiago usually doesn't disappoint.
Yeah, that's true.
Rakic, maybe too patient sometimes, but I don't think he'll be able to do that here.
Yeah.
Moving on to lightweight.
Oh, man.
A very interesting one here. Islam Makhachev really being given his first true test, in my opinion, at least big test, and that's with Drew Dober.
Okay. So the heir to the throne of Khabib Nurmagomedov is what they're labeling him.
What AKA keeps saying.
Islam Makhachev, 18-1, 3 KO TKOs, 7 submissions. He's 7-1 in the UFC. He's got 7 first-round finishes. His notable wins: Nick Lentz via decision, Gleison Tebow, he KO'd him. His lone loss on his record was to Adriano Martins via TKO in the first round. Islam is coming into this fight with Drew on a 6-fight win streak. And as I flip the page here, Drew Dober, 23 wins, 9 losses, 1 no contest, 10 KO TKO, 6 submissions, 9-5 1 no contest in the UFC. He's got 8 first-round finishes, wins over Scott Holtzman via decision, wins over Frank Camacho via decision, and then his most recent outing, he looked incredible against Alexander Hernandez and got the TKO finish there. He's got some losses that are notable. Albin Mercier via submission, who's now in the PFL. And then he also got submitted by Beneil Dariush. Drew, coming into this on a 3-fight win streak, really seeming to put it all together lately. Don't let the records and all the hype around Islam fool you. This isn't an easy fight. This is quite intriguing.
I've been a big Drew Dober fan from day one.
War Dober.
UFC 203.
You're going to be saying it Saturday night. I can hear it now.
I'm War Dober.
Yes. Beer's flowing. You're going to be screaming it. You're going to be jumping up and down, slamming things. I can see it.
But Islam Makhachev is really good.
He's good.
Now, I think there's clear advantages for both these guys. If this fight goes to the ground, which Islam will try to do,
yeah,
it's going to be a long day if Dober allows him to get that takedown and he's kept there. It's going to be a long day for him. But if this fight stays standing,
yep,
it gets very interesting. Not that Islam can't hang on the feet.
Yeah, Islam can finish.
But Drew Dober has really came into his own in his striking. Those power punches are, I would dare say, one of the hardest punchers in the lightweight division. You look at, he's knocked out, TKO'd Marco Polo Reyes, knocked out Nasrat Haqparast, TKO'd Alexander Hernandez in his last fight. That one in particular was very...
He looked so good.
He looked so good. And Hernandez, I don't care how he just lost his last fight, damn good prospect as well. I'm struggling with this one.
I'm struggling with every fight on this card.
So how are you thinking here? Because I'm really trying to collect.
Part of me really just has a little poke at my side that's saying, hey, Drew Dober's going to land the shot. He's going to do it. He's going to land the shot. Mm-hmm. But then the other part of me is like, yeah, come on. If Habib and DC and all these guys are hyping him up, talking about him, the hype's got to be real, right? I'm going Islam Makhachev. I think he's going to be battle-tested here. Toughest fight of his career. But at the end of the day, I think he gets it done via decision. I couldn't do it. But no, I think you can. You want to do it. Pull the trigger.
You want me to pull the trigger?
War Dober.
I'll pull the trigger. War Dober.
You're doing it.
Drew Dober for the win.
How?
Via.
Flying triangle choke.
I think Drew Dober is going to win this fight. I think he's going to put a lot of people on notice here. All of AKA is going to be crying. Drew Dober wins this fight via second round KO TKO.
Oh, man. Hey, the lone loss Islam has. TKO.
And Dober is a much better striker and power
He really does seem to be putting it all together right now. He does.
This isn't... I don't want this to come off like I know that this is not the most... I definitely, since I have such a strong bond with Drew Dober, I'm definitely, biased in that way.
But you genuinely
think he can win this fight.
Yeah.
Do I think that if they fought 100 times, do I think Dober wins more than 50 of them? Probably not. But I look at, for Islam, he hasn't fought since September 2019.
A long time, man.
Long time layoff. He has had his chin be tested and not pass the test before. And I just can totally see Dober landing that shot. Dober, even though he's been submitted a few times, not an easy guy to get to the ground.
No, not at all.
Alexander Hernandez found
he's
that
a very strong guy, man.
Very strong, and he's not a super tall guy.
Yeah, short, stocky.
While Islam's probably a little bit taller than him. I don't know exactly.
I'd say, reach-wise, I'd say, too, should be.
So, I think that if Dober can... I think Dober's going to be able to stuff enough takedowns. Mm-hmm. Maybe the first round's all Islam.
Yeah.
Takedown on top. But I think Dober's going to be able to make those mid-fight adjustments, and I think he lands the shot in the second round.
Man. All it takes is one.
Third one. This is going to get harder.
We're doing 3 title fights.
Peter Yan, Aljamain Sterling.
This is This is the one I'm most excited for. I know we're having a double champ come potential and a guy moving up in weight classes. This is the fight I've been waiting on, and we're finally here. Petr Yan, 15 wins, 1 loss, 7 KO TKOs, 1 submission. He's undefeated in the UFC at 7-0. He's got 3 first-round finishes. He's got wins over Douglas Silva de Andrade via TKO, decision over John Dodson, decision over Jimmy Rivera. He KO'd Uriah Faber with a head kick, and then TKO'd Jose Aldo to win the vacant title. His lone loss is to Magomed Magomedov, which was a split decision back at ACB 32. Fun fact, Magomed's only loss is to Petr Yan. They've traded wins with each other, and now we just need to see the trilogy at some point down the line. Petr Yan coming into this fight on a 10-fight win streak. Blue corner, the challenger, Aljamain Sterling, 19 wins, 3 losses. He's got 2 KO TKOs, 8 submissions, 11-3 in the UFC with 4 round 1 finishes. Wins over Takeya Mizugaki via submission, Renan Barão via decision. He submitted Cody Stamann. He's also beaten Jimmy Rivera via decision, beaten Pedro Munoz via decision, and then absolutely demolished Corey Sandhagen and got a submission victory in his last outing. His losses were to Brian Caraway, split decision, Rafael Sunsao, split decision, and then a freak KO via a thing that was supposed to be a head kick, but he dipped in, so it ended up being a knee to the face, and he got KO'd and fell into like the dab stance, and it's all kinds of crazy shit. It was against Marlon Moraes. Aljo on a 5-fight win streak. No, this is the fight. This is the fight right here.
We've been waiting for it.
Uh-huh.
It's the rightful 1 and 2 here in the division. Or champion 1, whatever.
Yep.
These are the top 2 guys. They've earned it. It's tough to know because Yan really, his path to the belt, not the hardest that we've seen.
No.
You know, you look at, he beat guys like Douglas Silva de Andrade, good win. John Dodson, a step up, good veteran win. Jimmy Rivera, great win.
Mm-hmm.
Then he KOs Uriah Faber, really
It's
dominant
A
performance.
great win, but also a favor
But
that it
that's
came out
what
of
got
retirement.
him a title shot, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
we'll see. But then you place him up with Aldo, who was 0-1 in the division.
This to me is like the title fight.
So it's kind of like, okay, he wins the belt, but he really still has to prove he can beat the top guys in the division before that place as champion is really confirmed in my eyes. And Aljamain has had a much tougher road here. I mean, his competition, yes, he had a couple losses early on, Caraway, Sunsao, Moraes, but you look at, after the Moraes fight, Brett Johns, Cody Stamann, Jimmy Rivera, Pedro Munoz, and then submitting Corey Sandhagen.
That was crazy.
I mean, he has fully bounced back and has proven that he is, like, he's here.
Yeah, I mean, 2 of the 3 losses via split. So, one judge sees it the other way. Those are 2 wins.
And another stark contrast in styles.
Yes.
Because Yan is one of the best strikers in the entire UFC. His ability to switch stances on his feet, and he's just as good as a southpaw as he is orthodox. He is fantastic with his boxing.
Yeah, and we see a lot of the Russian guys that are so great at wrestling. Yeah. Yan on the other hand saying, I'm going to keep this on the feet and, punch you in the face.
While Sterling will bring the pressure, but he's really going to look to get the fight to the ground.
Yeah, unorthodox on the feet, great grappler.
And he does bring a lot of pressure, and he's very fast.
Mm-hmm.
But is he as fast as Yan? I don't know. They're both...
Hand speed in general, probably not.
No, but I think it's movement-wise, probably.
Yeah. He's
so
funky.
It's going to be a great fight. And I have a hard time seeing either of these guys getting finished.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to stick with the champ. I'm going Petr Yan, and I'm going to go via decision.
This is where we differ. Well, I guess we differed on Drew Dober and Makhachev.
Yeah.
But I've been so high on Aljo, and I called it back in December when this fight was going to happen, and I'm sticking to it now 3 months later. Aljamain Sterling is the next champ. And a guy that could potentially reign for a little bit in this division. I think he's really in his prime right now. Not that Petr Yan is not. But this is a legit test here for Yan. This is the legitimate title fight in my eyes. No takeaways from Yan. He won the belt, I understand. But this is the fight. This is the fight. But I'm going Aljamain Sterling, I'm going decision. I think he's going to look to get this fight to the ground a lot. I think he's going to look to overwhelm Jan. Jan's going to have moments, and I think this could be a fight where even we see a 3-2, a 4-1. It's going to be competitive, even on the feet. Sterling's not going to just stray away and get destroyed on the feet. He will get bested, but not destroyed on the feet. He'll have his moments. Jan may even, maybe Jan comes out and attempts at least to take down or some clinch control up against the fence. Try to prove who's the stronger guy. I'm interested to see the strength difference between both of these fellas. Both looking very good right now physically. Fantastic fight here. But, again, Sterling via decision. Tough fight there. Tough fight to pick.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Co-main event time.
A GOAT.
Amanda Nunes, Megan Anderson. Roll out the red carpet for these ladies down.
Our first time getting to break down Amanda Nunes. And I feel honored, Noah. I really do. Episode 75, big pay-per-view card. And here we go. Amanda Nunes, the greatest women's mixed martial artist of all time. One of the greatest all-around mixed martial artists. 20 wins, 4 losses. 13 KO, TKOs, 3 submissions. 13-1 in the UFC. 13 first-round finishes. She's got wins over Jermaine Durandamy twice. Once via TKO, once via decision. She beat Shayna Baszler via TKO. She submitted Sarah McMahon. She's beaten Valentina Shevchenko twice, both via decision. She submitted Miesha Tate. She TKO'd Ronda Rousey. She TKO'd Raquel Pennington. She KO'd with one punch Chris Cyborg. She TKO'd Holly Holm. No. She Holly Holmed Holly Holm with a head kick KO. And then in her most recent outing, beat Felicia Spencer via decision. She's got a couple losses. She lost to Alexis Davis back at SF in 2011 via TKO. And then lost to Kat Zingano via TKO. So at that point in her career, following that loss to Kat, Amanda Nunes was 9-4. Now, she's 20-4 on an 11-fight win streak coming into this fight, looking to make her 7th title defense across 2 weight classes. Megan Anderson, 11 wins, 4 losses, 6 KO TKOs, 3 submissions, 3-2 in the UFC. A former Invicta champion as well. 6 round 1 finishes. She's got wins over Kat Zingano via TKO. She KO'd with one punch Norma Dumont, and in her other UFC victory, won via triangle choke submission. So all finishes. Her losses in the UFC, Holly Holm via decision. That was her debut fight. And then got submitted by Felicia Spencer in a number 1 contender bout. And that's how Felicia got the title fight against Nunes. When you're breaking down one of the best to ever do it, it's hard to go against them.
I really feel like we should focus mostly on if Megan Anderson were to win this fight, how does she do it?
I think Megan needs to finish this fight.
Yeah, I don't see her being able to
win a decision.
Stay with Nunes for 5 rounds. What does she have advantages of over Nunes? It's literally size. So therefore, she's got the length, she's got the size, the reach. She does have power in her hands. I don't even know if she has more power than Nunes. But that's really all. On paper, based off what we've seen, I don't see another route for her to win here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
She's got the power, like you said. One-shot power, as we've seen. She does have a couple submissions on her record, but can she really submit Nunes? That's a different beast. For Nunes, she can get it done all 3 options. You know what I mean? She can drag it out, she can KO, TKO, she can submit. I think this is a tough challenge because we're talking about a 6-foot-tall fighter here in Megan Anderson. Very long reach, 72.5 inches. She's going to present problems. But at the end of the day, Amanda can make the adjustments. We saw what she did with GDR. Another fighter that's taller than her, has a longer reach. She knew she wasn't getting being her usual self on the feet. What'd she do? Takes the fight to the ground and dominates GDR for 5 rounds. I see it being much of the same here, but I think Nunes is going to get this fight to the ground more often than not. And by the time the 3rd round rolls around, the 3rd round comes too. I didn't want to say round and round a bunch of times. You get what I'm saying. She's going to be on the ground again, and this time, the ground and pound is going to be too much. Megan's going to give up her back and get submitted in the 3rd round to Amanda Nunes and still the GOAT.
I'm having such a hard time. There's no doubt I'm picking Nunes, and maybe I'm risking it. Am I risking it in case this end up being the biggest upset of all time? Yes. It could end up being that way. Megan is still yet to show a lot of her abilities that she had shown early on in her career in the UFC, but she's also developed a lot of abilities that one-punch power. It's going to be Amanda Nunes. It's just a method of victory for me.
Yeah.
The submission 3rd round, I'm close to that. But I'll kind of go out on a limb. I think Nunes might be looking to make a point here. I think it might be a 1st round.
No kidding.
Submission.
Coming out hot and just getting it over with.
I think she's just going to come out and kind of like a la Chris Cyborg fight.
Yeah.
But I think instead of finishing on the feet, she will end up submitting her.
I like it. I don't hate that at all. Before we go on to the big one, do you see at least potential for the upset at all? Or is it the one-shot punch chance? Is Amanda so well-rounded that it's going to be a one-shot?
Based off what I've seen from Megan Anderson, regardless of how good Amanda Nunes is, I think it's a puncher's chance.
Yeah.
I really don't see Megan's strength over... Well, I mean, she is a bit tall, strong. I don't see where she's better than Nunes at.
Nunes is simply that good, right?
And Nunes...
That's what it comes down
to. What has phased Nunes in her fights over, based on this since she's been champion? The GDR fight, GDR did give her a little trouble in the feet. But GDR is a world
class,
kickboxer and women's boxer, and Megan doesn't have those credentials.
Well, it's crazy.
She has one-punch power, but doesn't necessarily have the technique to set it up.
And then you look at where Nunes comes out, and look what she does to Holly Holm.
Yeah.
A boxing world champion. It's crazy.
Head kicks her.
Crazy.
I mean, it's
she's
really,
so good.
And if Megan wins it, then it's going to answer a lot of those, where her strengths lie. But right now, I really just don't see it.
Okay. Let me pose one more question.
Okay.
What does this do for the state of the featherweight division as a whole? If Nunes is in still, what do? Keep bringing in just one fight? I mean, they have a featherweight fight lined up. Felicia Spencer and Danielle Wolf off of the Contender Series. So they're not getting rid of the division, but are they just going to keep bringing in one-offs from Invicta? And
I mean,
that's what you do?
Danielle Wolf beats Spencer.
Because, you'd imagine if Megan were to win.
I mean, let's be honest, it's kind of an elephant in the room. I mean, this isn't really a division. I mean, it is, but it isn't.
There's like 4 people, literally.
It's a lot of bantamweights wanting to move up and fight for a belt.
And a couple legit featherweights.
I think they're going to, right now, there hasn't been any chatter of them.
You think if Amanda wants to keep making history defending both belts...
Then I think they're going to... Honestly, I think if Megan wins, there's a greater chance that the division might just dissolve.
Interesting.
I don't know.
I had to get your take.
I don't know. It's based off the fact that you heard so much chatter about the men's flyweights, right?
Yeah.
But I've heard nothing about women's featherweight. I think maybe there's the hope that someone like Kayla Harrison comes over and maybe they can still build this thing.
Baby.
It just remains to be seen. Mm-hmm. But I think for now you're going to see it kind of continue the stagnating route they've been doing. But when you have Amanda Nunes as a champion of that division, in quotations, division.
Keep feeding her,
Yeah, you might as well. Main event time.
Oh, boy.
Jan Blachowicz, Israel Adesanya. Roll out the red carpet for these two gentlemen.
Okay. So these two gentlemen both fought on UFC 253 and both won in their title fights. And now they're fighting each other just a few months later. Noah, Jan Blachowicz, 27 wins, 8 losses. He's got 8 KO TKOs, 9 submissions. Don't sleep on the submissions. I know he's known for the legendary Polish power, folks. 9 submissions. 10-5 in the UFC. He's got 7 first-round finishes. Wins over Ilir Latifi via TKO. He submitted Devin Clark. A decision over Jared Cannonier. Decision over Jimmy Manoa. Submitted Nikita Krylov. One-punch KO'd Luke Rockhold. Got a split decision over Jacare Souza. One-punch KO'd Corey Anderson, and then TKO'd Dominic Reyes to win the title. His losses: Jimmy Manoa via decision, Corey Anderson via decision, Alexander Gustafsson via decision, Patrick Cummins in a majority decision, which means one of the judges had that fight a draw. And then his last loss was to Thiago Santos, as we mentioned. That was via TKO. Since then, he's on a 4-fight win streak, and of course now the light heavyweight champion of the world. Israel Adesanya, a perfect 20 wins, 0 losses. 15 KO TKOs. He's 9-0 in the UFC, and literally he's not even been in the UFC 3 years yet. Unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff this guy's doing. Unprecedented. Wins over Marvin Vettori via split decision. A decision win over Brad Tavares that he looked great in for 5 full rounds. TKO Derek Brunson at Madison Square Garden. A decision win and a passing of the torch bout against Anderson Silva. One of my all-time favorite fights. Got a decision over Kelvin Gastelum to become the interim champion, and one of the greatest fights in general that you'll ever see in your life. KO'd Robert Whittaker to become the undisputed champion in front of the largest crowd in UFC history. Had a fight with Yoel Romero that we don't like to talk about, and then TKO'd Paulo Costa. He has 7 first-round finishes, no losses to speak of here, Noah. The middleweight champion, moving up to fight the King of Poland.
Mm-hmm.
Give me your thoughts. Should we talk about the weight that's been going around this week?
Yeah, I don't put a lot of water on it. I don't even know if that's a saying.
It is now.
I don't put much on that. I think Israel's just trying to say that he's not changing anything up with his fight week routine. He's like, don't be surprised if I weigh this much because I'm not changing anything.
Yeah.
But I think he'll still weigh in around
pretty close.
200 pounds, at the minimum. Do you?
No, I mean, I just wanted to at least bring it up and get that
it
interview
was
with
a big
Ariel. He
talking
said,
point.
don't be surprised if I weigh in at 193. Right now I'm weighing 198. Ariel Helwani, of course, interviews Jan Blachowicz the next day, kind of getting a gauge on, well, what are you going to weigh on fight night? Jan says, I'll weigh about 220, 225. So we could be talking 20, 25, 30-pound weight difference between these guys. It's just something to hang out there. But now we just got to get into the fight, the styles.
Yeah.
What do we got?
Well, let's start with the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Jan Blachowicz.
Legendary Polish power.
Me and him have not seen eye to eye.
He hates you.
Literally his last 5 fights, I predict him to lose every one of them. I've gotten one right, and that was the first one. I thought he would lose to Santos. He did. Thought he would lose to Rockhold.
He did not.
He did not. Then, what was after that? I thought he would lose to Jacare Souza.
He did not. Close fight, though. Boring fight.
Yep.
Corey Anderson.
Thought he would lose to Corey Anderson.
He did not.
Thought he would lose to Dominic Reyes.
He did not.
Here we are.
Here we are.
I mean, let me pose a question first.
Okay.
I saw this, I forget where I think I saw this on a video. Maybe MMA on Point. I'm not entirely sure. If Jan Blachowicz wins this fight, is his career resurgence better, the best we've ever seen? And I'm going to rate basically the other person who would have a hold on that being Robbie Lawler.
Man, that's a fantastic question.
Considering at one point in his career he was, what was it?
At one point in his UFC career he was 2-4.
Yep.
Now he's 10-5.
Yeah.
So what's that? 8-1. Yeah, 8-1 run. He's won 8 of his last 9 fights. That's a great question that I hadn't really thought of. I'm gonna have to go with yes. I think it comes down to competition. Not that Robbie didn't fight great competition, but I just think it's different when you're in these bigger weight classes. More potential to just get one shot KO'd, and the way he's done it. Robbie had some 5-round wars that are instant classics. Jan's going out here just one punch KOing people, getting the check and leaving. So it's quite incredible here. And if he were to beat an undefeated Israel Adesanya, stop just one of the biggest hype trains that the UFC has right now and that they've ever had, I'm going to go greatest career resurgence we've ever seen. I love that question.
Yeah. I forget who someone was saying that it would have to be at least in the conversation, and I completely agree. I mean, the only thing that would make me want to say Ravi is just because he started out so young in UFC.
Yeah.
Got released, had a very tough run in Strikeforce, came back, won the champion, had back-to-back fight of the years. You know,
but Jan's 37, 38 now. I agree. I
considering
like
he still at this point has more wins via submission than knockout, but Polish power.
Trademark pin.
While Israel Adesanya, I mean, he is so much growing into what his potential was. I mean, he has really exceeded his potential at this point. You know, I made the blunder of predicting Paulo Costa to beat him, and that looks sillier and sillier as time goes on. But you know, it just shows how far he's come even since with that fight.
He's levels above.
He just is. He is this last
in terms
style
of striking.
bender,
Yeah.
and he is incredible. And he has the potential with the win here to really become that next star. And when I mean star, I mean, you know, the guys like Masvidal, McGregor, Diaz, these guys that require first bill, you won't see 2 more title fights on their cards kind of guy.
He will quickly be chasing that GOAT status.
Did you see the Puma commercial?
Yeah, badass.
Awesome. He was on the cover
of UFC 4.
You know, the UFC's definitely buying in here.
He's got Nigeria.
And I will say, when this fight, So when this fight was announced, I
was shocked.
I was immediately like, okay, Adesanya's going to win this.
And as we talked about earlier.
And then as the days go on, it's like this feeling keeps creeping into my head that's like...
Polish power. Yeah.
Blachowicz just, again, you know what makes me second guess it the most is the fact that he has proven me wrong every step of the way. I have to respect the man for that. He's a champion. He was 2-4 in the UFC at one point.
On the verge of getting cut, potentially.
He's a champion.
Won 8 of his last
Whoever would have thought that would come?
I
remember the first time I remember hearing the name Jan Blachowicz was Daniel Cormier shit-talking, I believe it was like Ryan Bader at a press conference. He said, your best win is against Jan Blachowicz. He's like, I like Jan Blachowicz, but it's Jan Blachowicz.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I just remember that I think that stigma is held to this day for me, where it's like, it's Jan Blachowicz. But now, it's Jan Blachowicz.
It's the guy. it's the first Polish male champion, the second only Polish champion outside of Joanna, Jacek, the king and queen, respectively.
And it's been creeping into my head, but it's not going to be enough for me to pick him here. It's not quite going to be enough. I have a lot of respect for Jan Blachowicz and what he's done to really just continue to grow in his career and to get to the highest of highs. You know, I mean, he beat the guy for the belt who arguably beat John Jones, but the judges didn't feel that way. But Israel Adesanya, I think, is just the next level. I don't think there's a lot of guys that can beat Jan at light heavyweight, but Israel Adesanya, I think, can. However, I don't think it's going to be easy. This is my fight of the night pick, and I'm picking Israel Adesanya via decision. I think it's going to be a war. I think Adesanya will get hurt at times, will be tested at times. But I think he's going to be too fast, too crisp, too technical for the Polish power.
I like that. I didn't get my fight of the night. I'm bad at that sometimes. I'm going Jan and Sterling as fight of the night. But the other Jan Blachowicz and Israel Adesanya, man, I mean, where do you start? Just like you, and we talked about this offline before we hit the record button, with each passing day, that tiny part of me is like, he's going to land one shot. He's going to land a shot against Izzy, isn't he? Because then, you know, you look at the fight with Izzy when he fought Marvin Vettori or when he fought Kelvin Gastelum and was getting hurt. Can he withstand a shot from a 225-pound dude with 4-ounce gloves on? Can he? A guy that's been putting people's lights out? I think it's going to come down to speed. Now, Jan's got great hand speed. But again, it's kind of similar to how we talked about Pewter Jan and Sterling. Speed in general, movement, feinting, in and out, picking shots. It's going to be Izzy here. I think he's going to be able to not point fight his way to a victory. I think it's going to be a great fight. But he's going to really have to pace himself here. Be careful because one shot can change it all. I am going Israel Adesanya via decision to become the champ. I think it's going 5 rounds. I do have one question here. So we're talking a lot about striking, but do we see Jan attempt to get this to the ground? Now, Israel has a fantastic takedown defense.
Yeah.
But do we at least see Jan try?
I don't think we do.
Really? You think he tries to stand the whole time?
Yeah, I mean, I could I be wrong, of course, but I think he really believes in his power.
He's a great boxer.
And I think that's what's really gotten him to this high-level fight, and I think he's going to believe in it to win it out. One thing I want to ask you. So, it seems like Jan can at times be a bit of a slow starter.
Yeah.
Israel Adesanya tends to he likes to let his opponents kind of, what's the word? He's talked about the Izzy effect. He kind of lets his opponents into a false sense of comfort almost.
Yeah, he immediately just controls the entire fight and essentially freezes his opponents. We've seen it twice in a row.
If Jan comes out and immediately is on the move, on the pressure,
could be interesting. What we thought Paulo was going to do.
Do you think that this fight, is that how you're thinking the fight's going to go, or do you think it starts out with?
I think they're both going to be patient.
Which could make Israel Adesanya very uncomfortable. I mean, it didn't in the Romero fight, but I think that Jan's bigger, he's stronger, he's going to have better reach, better length. It could be interesting if Jan comes out and is like, no, you make the first move.
If Jan comes out aggressive, I think he's going to push for clinch work and get a takedown. Striking-wise, I don't think he's going to come out and be aggressive in the striking. I think he's going to want to find that one shot, as we've seen him do time and time again. You know what I think would be interesting? We saw how brutal his body kicks were against Dominic Reyes. Mm-hmm. Those could play a factor. We've not seen people do body work to Adesanya. It's hard to hit Adesanya, but those could play a factor. There's so many intangibles here. I think we're going to see a really great striking display, no matter who wins. But it's just a matter of Izzy seems to be so many levels ahead in all facets of striking. Mm-hmm. Kicks, elbows, Muay Thai, boxing, just everything. Switching, angles, feinting, as I mentioned. Jan's got the great crisp boxing, but it's can he keep up with all that movement?
Yeah.
And that's where it's going to inevitably fall to Izzy for me.
I just have a hard time seeing Izzy knocking out.
Yeah, man. I guess maybe it's similar to Amanda. Well, I don't know. It's kind of not, but I guess when you go methods of victory, technically Jan would have more routes because Izzy has no submission victories. But at the same time, to me, I don't see Jan winning a decision. I see him KOing. But if I see Izzy winning, he could finish Jan, or he could win a decision. So
not that Jan's never been finished, but I mean, Thiago Santos' power is different than Adesanya. Adesanya doesn't need power. He's got the precision.
Yeah, he's just going to pick you apart.
And, I mean, he could finish a fight that way. I don't think he knocks out Jan cold, but he could overwhelm him to the point like Paulo got overwhelmed.
Here's what I want to see. I want to see Izzy get hit one time. One time solid by Jan. I want to see what it does. I want to see what it does to him mentally, physically. How's he going to react? How's he going to push through that fire and just... Can he make the proper adjustments to not get hit again? Because I really just don't think any middleweight can come up 20 pounds and take as many shots as they do at 185. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious to see one shot land on Izzy. If a shot does land, what it'll do. But, again, going Izzy.
Do you feel like a weight's been lifted off our shoulders?
Yeah. I mean, with so much anticipation.
Yeah, now we just gotta watch the damn thing.
This card, very first fight of the night.
You guys that are listening, you just don't, maybe you don't get it, but you don't get cards like this that often.
You don't.
Especially now that we do this kind of podcast, we really break down these things, these week to weeks, and we know more of the fighters. Now it's every fight on this card is so intriguing.
We could have literally done the early prelims.
Yeah, we could have.
It's that stacked. You're going to want to tune in. Well, I think we're in for history. Mm-hmm. There's history in this card in the making.
There is something in the air.
Yeah. Something's going to happen.
But until then.
Got to wait and see.
Yep. So can you give the start times for Saturday?
Oh, shit. Well, the pay-per-view's at 10 p.m. There's like 16 total fights. So the prelims that we broke down, the 4, are still at 8, like usual. It's the early prelims I'm not sure on because there's like 6 of them. There's 15 fights on Saturday. I'm probably going to go with like a 5:30 or 6 p.m. Don't quote me on that, but I know they're all on ESPN+.
There you go.
So,
dude, look it up, you bastards.
Look it up. Usually I got it right here, but I feel disappointed.
No, I'm sorry I put you on the spot there.
Ah.
But until then, buy the pay-per-view. Dominic Lee, tell the good people where they can find you on social media.
Twitter, Instagram, at @DSlee14. Find the podcast on Twitter, on Instagram, at BAJ_MMA podcast. Having a lot more engagement these days on social media. We're trying to bump up the followers, the engagement.
Twitter's popping.
We got results for all the fights coming out. I don't know how many damn tweets we're going to do on Saturday because we broke down so many fights.
Instagram followers are rising.
We got people commenting on pictures on Instagram, really engaging. We got polls going up on all the platforms. You're going to want to be involved before it's too late.
Get in or get out.
Basically.
Or just keep listening.
Yeah, that's fine too.
As for me, if you go to my bio on Twitter or Instagram at @ntbaker_, you'll be taken to our link tree, which gives you the links to all the platforms that the podcast is on, along with the social media platforms. That includes the Twitter, the Instagram, the YouTube channel, along with Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. It's all on there, baby. And there's a couple links for the Anchor page. First, leaving a voice message. It's something that we just heard JP do earlier. Something you've heard Tyler do in the past.
Don't you want to be involved?
Be involved. Leave a question, a thought about an upcoming fight, a thought about a fight that's already happened. Anything that you want to talk about, you got 60 seconds to do it there. Tell us we're a piece of shit. Tell us hi. I don't care. Do it at that link. And there's a link if you want to become a supporter of the podcast. That just provides us with a few dollars a month, and all that money goes back into improving the quality of the podcast, whether it be audio equipment or down the line doing a video podcast. So again, you can find all of that if you go to my bio on Twitter or Instagram at @ntbaker_. But with that, we're out, and we'll see you on